AI has suddenly transformed, and we have at our disposal top-end analyst, programmer, statistician, a visual expert, all rolled into one. On the other hand, we have all kinds of data, and we also have the focus on sales, leads, conversions, e-commerce to quick commerce.
The good old days, if I can say, the awareness or other metrics, if you understood that well, you could actually predict how business is likely to happen. But nowadays, that relationship somewhere is slightly weaker. There are many tracks where we see intent to buy for a brand could be going up, but market share could be coming down.
85% of my sales still comes from non-digital, where it is trackability is a issue. My audience has moved 80% into digital. So it is like people are digital, still buying traditional.
The interesting thing is to look at attribution from two frames. One frame is the evolving marketeers, and the other one is the evolving consumers.
Hello everybody. So this is a podcast which will be on channel outcomes and attribution. And we have a marquee panel here. You have LV Krishnan from TAM. We have Raghavendra, who is from Jyoti Labs. And we have Karthik, who is from Omnicom. AI has suddenly transformed, and we have at our disposal a top-end analyst, a programmer, a statistician, a visual expert, all rolled into one. On the other hand, we have all kinds of data, and we also have the focus on sales, leads, conversions, e-commerce to quick commerce. So let's first start with a discussion on what do we mean by channel outcomes and how are these changing. So Karthik, can you just give a perspective on how the outcomes have changed, morphed and evolved today?
20-25 years ago, while sales was very important for brands, outcome largely was at best measured in terms of maybe brand awareness and intermediary variables of any of the marketing funnel. Cut to today in 2025, I think the extreme level of focus is on ultimately sales. It could be market share, it could be volume share, it could be in certain categories, say like BFSI, it could be the number of quotes or any such parameter which is closest to sale becomes outcome. In the good old days, if I can say, the awareness or other metrics, if you understood that well, you could actually predict how business is likely to happen. But nowadays, that relationship somewhere is slightly weaker. So there are many tracks where we see intent to buy for a brand could be going up, but market share could be coming down. So therefore, many brands are looking at how do we build a kind of a relationship between any form of a marketing input, whether you're investing in brand or distribution or promotion, and what is the ultimate objective, which is say the sale of the product or the service, as the case may be. So that's the evolution that we are seeing. So auto, as an example, looks at qualified leads, not any lead but high quality leads, similar to what happens even in banking. But say brands like FMCG will look at say volumes or value share depending on the category. But when we say outcome, it's what is happening to our business. There are some sophisticated clients which even start looking at things like margins, which is even more layered and far more difficult to do.
Yeah. So Raghavendra, how do you see this from a FMCG lens? Because I'm sure FMCG is even more complex.
See, FMCG has been always guarded by this principle saying that I spent $1, 50% is wasted, we don't know which other option.
Okay.
So there are 4 questions we need to answer. Who are my customer? What are they doing? What do you wish them to do? This is the outcome. So the trick lies in defining what is the outcome. Definitely not necessarily sales, like Karthik said, something which will lead to the sales, closer to the sales. today it has so happened that TV is not able to generate those outcomes what we sought of. So we need to design a communication structure. That's the reason attribution model is the need of the hour, and we are all struggling, and we are in a dichotomy of rich data you mentioned. We are also on the dichotomy of poor data. Answering the trigger and the outcome and the relation to the inputs to output is the bigger challenge which FMCG is facing today, which is more so because of 85% of my sales still comes from non-digital, where it is trackability is a issue. My audience has moved 80% into digital. So it is like a people are digital, still buying traditional. So it's a very interesting space to be.
So are the outcomes for the physical part, are they changing? Are you looking at something different for outcomes from that audience?
Today
and that
everything is has to be seen from a digital, as simple as that. Even if my primary sales, secondary sales which happens, there is a digital version trigger is there at our end. So there is nothing called only physical. So that is relevant from a input point of view also. Today my inputs are also digitally tracked. So even if I make a television, if I were to do a radio, if I were to do a BTL, if I were to do a poster, if I were to do a simple trade scheme, if I were to do, everything is digitally linked.
So what I was referring was the physical sales that are happening, and you are tracking some kind of outcomes for that segment of the audience.
No, we are already tracking most of it as a digital outcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My primary secondary sales is also tracked digitally. Inputs to primary secondary is tracked digitally. Primary, tertiary and even tertiary is also tracked digitally. This includes both my revenue generation and demand generation. Okay.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is to look at attribution from two frames, Shrapat. One frame is the evolving marketeers, and the other one is the evolving consumers, as Raghavendra just put it across. So when you look at it from these two angles, the marketeer is on his specific life cycle of evolution. 20 years back, he had less channels for distribution. Yes, he had less channels for communication, and therefore everything was oriented towards mono communication and marketing exercises. In the sense of fact that he had a retail shop, he had a television or probably a radio at the best, or at a local level, print, to do his communication bit action. 25 years later today, you're seeing multi-channel exposures happening. The same marketeer has evolved himself to say the fact, oh, there is an entire shopping mall that audiences are going to. So I need to be present over there in what you call as multi-brand presence, self-purchase convenience stores action. There is a sudden explosion of e-com action, where even if I'm marketing in South, I can make my product accessible in North, where I have not even communicated for the last 25 years. Actually. Then comes in your quick commerce, which is saying the fact that why waste 2 days in delivery? I'm here ready to serve the order to the consumers in 10 minutes time. He's saying, oh gosh, now I have to produce more, or should I produce less? But I can cater to many more segments of the society, and therefore my attribution for each one has to be pulled up and say it's not the same as what it was before with one channel, one communication exercises. Here I have to measure each of them and see where I need to put, because margins are different. Your faster refilling makes it the fact that the products has to go into that space much more quicker than what it was earlier, etc. On the consumer side, again, he's leapfrogged. The next generation, they are seeing content visually in front of them, getting activated continuously, and then suddenly he's saying the fact that, hey, I need suddenly an ice cream. So suddenly at a switch of a button, my transaction is getting created, and therefore my entire choice is also increasing, because there are multiple brands communicating through the. Now this end consumer is saying the fact that I have so much of choice in an ice cream, which one do I pick up? And he doesn't have the legacy of how the brand has got built actually. So therefore he's looking at coupons and saying, oh, this is a 10 rupee off actually, and say, let me taste it actually. So provocativeness to purchase, trial are changing dramatically where I'm looking at a new generation. So his attributions are different from the attributions that I still continue to track for the earlier generation. But this earlier generation also now has moved up in life cycle that they're also accessing the devices. These guys are now dabbling between loyalty as well as prescriptions aided by discounts and favorabilities action. So the entire scenario is changing depending upon what stage the brands are in terms of life stage and who are you communicating to the consumer side, what life stage they are in, life cycle they are in action.
So one big thing that has happened is of course quick commerce, and it is affecting almost all categories. We are seeing it. So has that changed the whole lens of outcomes?
Of course, the short answer is it has. Because for different brands, the proportion of quick commerce to the overall sales would be very, very different. So if you were to think about that, there are two parts to your, the question that you raised. One is, if it is, for very few brands, it's a significant 80-90%. For still many brands, it will be low teens or mid teens or 20, for whatever that number may be. So it will become one more channel for them to sell. So the attribution can be done only for platform A versus platform B versus platform C, which is giving you more. That's a fairly relatively easier task. But the bigger task is the demand only coming because I advertised there? What about all the other advertising? Most important question I would raise and ask is the question of how does actually advertising work? Advertising in most categories is a nudge. I may see a toothpaste ad today. Next minute, am I going to jump out of my bed and go and actually buy it? Probably not. But it has left some imprints in my memory, where in my next purchase, that probability, and marketing works on probability. It is an important factor, but not the dominant factor. There have been enough debates about is it a strong force, weak force. But what we are seeing, and rolling back to India and Indian data, advertising seems to work more like a nudge. There will be those, sale advertising which may work like a force. Therefore, we have to not just measure what is happening on quick commerce, but all the other effects which are happening outside of quick commerce. Maybe an outdoor ad, maybe a radio today, maybe it's a streaming, the radio format may have changed, maybe a digital outdoor, it could be a CTV. That formats can change, but all of those are creating some impression. And when the moment of truth comes, in a minute, I could have bought brand A versus brand B, but I chose B because of some other factor. While in the same category, he may have chosen brand A. But imagine what LV said, now it is 20 brands, and I have to make the decision. And sometimes those decisions, it may be that I am in a hurry. The first brand which came, it was the fastest, I just pressed the button. That will also happen, because consumers are irrational. I may like a particular brand, but that day it was the first brand available, and that's why while attribution mathematically can solve some of this, that alone is not sufficient. You will still have to do observational studies. What is stopping? What is the barrier? Or what is actually helping? Could be totally different reasons. Sometimes irrational reasons. It is happening at a microsecond for them to even decode. The other problem here is the classical research of asking a question. The fact that when you ask the question, you have biased the consumer. And just becoming more and more complex with more choices, it's not an easy puzzle to solve.
Yeah. What I want to say, one big impact which we saw in FMCG is that FMCG had this so-called concept called barrier. So we used to spend money, lot of money, so that no other player can enter into it. So that got thrashed thanks to this quick commerce. So we had a distribution was one role. Nobody can have infrastructure to reach. So these two got impacted by quick commerce very badly. That is the classic trip of those who are in traditional, they want to go e-commerce, those who are in e-commerce, they want to come to the traditional. The second angle what we are struggling today to answer, what is the enabler here is that product, price, promotion, the 4 Ps will come together to solve that issue. So still before a quick commerce, you would have gone to a shop, there is a price offer which made you think about it. I had seen that. Similar thing is happening in quick commerce. Today, if there is a liquid detergent you are trying to buy, you picked up one established player like I know Rin or Surf Excel, you bought it. a flash will come. Do you want to replace this at 10 rupees benefit to you? The replacement brand is in the equity which consumer considers okay, it gets picked up. If he says not in the equity, replacement may not happen. So that entire what used to happen traditionally, now that play is happening in a quick commerce. And as a traditional player, we need to play this game of quick commerce also, and I need to play the game of the traditional side. Today I cannot take my hands off on both the places.
So interestingly, Karthik and Raghavendra touched upon one key fundamental thing actually. That is presence of brand at the closest moment when the purchase decision is wanting to be created actually. Okay. Today, with the intrusion of digital and the device being mobile, where over around 6 hours of time is being spent in a single day by an average consumer, creating that visibility at the point when that the need arises. Now, what tends to happen in this entire game is that because of the multitude of brands in a single category, there is enormous pressure on one-upness. In that one-upness, to make him select my brand, I can't do a long-term communication to him because he doesn't have the time. So the quickness with which I can take his very emotional connect with my brand is through a price offer straight away. Okay. Because I can't tell him, this is a beautiful design, packaging, so buy it. I can't say the fact that this will give you a touch and feel, which is fantastic because he's not in the shop where he can do a physical touch while purchasing offline. So the instinctive element that will connect with this neuro element is basically the price element actually. So automatically your selection is done, purchase comes into the basket, and the attribution delivers to the fact that visibility plus pricing delivered that particular sale happen. Now the key thing for the brand is that I have made him transact. Okay. There's no affirmation the fact that he'll come back and choose my product the second time actually, the loyalty. That's when the second cycle, the brand building happens. So then I look at all his touch points for the based on his past behavior and say, okay, these are the touch points that he has on digital, on television, on touch points that he has on digital, on television, on print, etc. And where all can I get a very efficient way of doing my communication, that is the least CPMs level, where I can do my communication about brand building, and I'll start building my brand, hoping the fact that the next cycle he chooses my brand. The second reason the building of the brand comes into play is because there may be a lingering effect in him, saying the fact that maybe I did the right choice because you did a 20 rupees offer, there's another brand at a 50 rupees offer actually. Okay. So I need to tell him the fact that, I have to reassure him the fact that what you selected is the right thing actually. So I play on his mind and say the fact that, hey, listen, you've done the right choice because these are the things that are attributed to me actually. So that reaffirmation to the consumer is very important as much as a transaction that happens actually. One is an immediate ringing of the bell on the cash counter. The other one is after a couple of days when he's repurchasing the brand, repurchasing a brand in a product category. So therefore, the brand building is as much as important as the sale that he does, the transaction that he does.
The biggest challenge what today's brands face is that first purchase happen. That's the most expensive investment you would have made to make that first purchase, deep discounts, attractive. But if it does not result in a recurring business, this entire model of I did a first transaction fails. Okay, and in FMCG, there is a complete shake-up which is happening, so-called planned purchases versus on the spur of the moment purchases. The beauty of that is that earlier monthly model, there is an entire ecosystem was built to encourage that you get a discount, you go to this monthly purchase, go to demand. So you have to pay a premium because you have forgotten to buy, you pay a premium. Now that penalty is being covered by the quick commerce and they are incentivizing. But over a period of time, this will get corrected. It will go back to, because the cost of distribution cannot be absorbed. Somebody has to pay for it. Okay. So today we are reacting to quick commerce, e-commerce, monthly plan all getting merged. Over a period of time, it will come back to the normalcy. So as a marketeer, I should be aware. I survived MTGT, so let me survive the e-commerce, quick commerce. But the learnings of MTGT is still relevant for me. Same issues. We have a question saying that who will sell a vegetable in a AC room? Nobody is asking that question. Everybody is saying this. We used to laugh at it. How it is possible in India to laugh? It's normal, no?
The new thing everybody wants is they want immediate sales, they want sales and conversions and leads. The focus, is that suddenly a big focus?
No doubt it is a focus. But what happens, what we're talking is sustained way of doing it, economical way of doing it. It have regular model of doing it. Because no company has realized that, no, I have not come across anybody who's going to jump the gun. We are all sitting and waiting to learn. Every day we learn.
Actually, it's also the way the consumer segmentation has happened in the marketplace. Actually, to the extent where now I'm talking about segments which are as narrower as in demographically as well as in usage value. Now, if that brand is very focused on that small segment of audiences, he has no other choice but to pander to those needs. It doesn't matter because that's his livelihood, to cater to that close to few thousands that are there, whether it's geographically or whether it's demographically. What he will do is he will channelize everything from a distribution and marketing exercises to pander to his needs per se. So let's, for example, the younger lot, in the age group of 15 to 20 age group, the 55 to 60-year-old still has almost 50% of his savings in a bank account. Actually, the 15 to 20-year-old has almost close to 80% of his financials in a mobile wallet. He actually has a tendency, therefore, to pay faster than the other individual, and it's an ice cream, for example. I could rather target that 15 to 20-year-old because he will swipe that money quickly, get me the inventory cleared off actually, and get the returns in, than at a 55 to 60-year-old who also loves ice cream. So therefore, the elementary payoff at the end of the day is finally deciding the channels mix that I use, or media mix that I use, as well as in terms of what is the offer that I need to, or the message.
So how do you see this in the categories like in a financial category or cars or something? How is the whole thing of focus on last mile, last touch? How big is it?
Even in financial, there are many products today which have no distribution, right? So you can buy today a mutual fund sitting at home through a mobile, which was unimaginable. You don't have to go to the bank to open a bank account. KYC can be done on a mobile. So with technological changes happening and many of these journeys are becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. But what you're trying to measure, whether you're selling a car or whether you're selling a soap or whether you're selling any other services, the attribution challenges will be similar in terms of how you want to solve that attribution challenge. The most of the popular methods being used by many brands is the last touch attribution, which is the problem, which we all know, right? Because if I saw an ad in some digital, and particularly a lot of it, the credit goes to digital channel. And to my earlier point, there's an entire thing that the brand has done and it should get its due credit. Having said that, I think in the last 3 to 4 years with computing power, you are able to see the full impact of every input, and then you can actually see which input is impacting in whatever ratios. So the ROI today can go down not just at TV, print, digital. You can go one more level within TV, which channel, within channel, which day part, within print, which magazine, left hand, right hand. That ability exists in India, and some of the brands are doing it, and they will reap the benefit. The only thing is they need to continue to do it, because again with so much complexity, new learnings will come. So take auto for example. In one client, for the client mix, print is not delivering ROI. On another client, the same category, print is delivering. So these easy fixes of, what is the role of media? If you remember 20 years back, I think that is a wrong way to even think about media. Consumers don't think that way. Consumers think of advertising. For them, everything is advertising. And now we have to say there are no boxes, there is no linearity, everything is crisscross. I may see an ad on YouTube and then go and then ponder over it, see another ad on say TV, and then maybe convinced by a print ad with me as an individual. But for say LV here, it may be completely reverse, and for Raghavendra it may be totally different mix. and to understand that is an ongoing thing, but it can be solved with technology. The other problem why attribution doesn't get, there are two different issues which I just want to highlight. One is the patience from all the stakeholders to see the result through, and for which you need good quality data. Data collection takes a long time, even within very good companies with good intentions, because they are in different silos. Even after you build it, you have to run it over a period of time. You can't do one study once a year and then say I've done ROI study. It's not going to help. So if you do it like almost on an ongoing basis, ideally ongoing, if not as frequent as you can afford, you will definitely get richer insights, and that way your marketing investment, not only you can measure your ROI, you can also change the course of the company. Because you will say, hey, this whatever mix is not working for me. It's almost like the way a doctor treats a patient, and that's the approach we should have. Because we should not have, either as a marketer or as an agency, as a researcher, why will I be biased on, all I'm interested is what is the entire mix which works for you as a singular brand at that point in time.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that one, it has to be a continuous process.
Absolutely.
Completely. And second is, you must start with a clean slate. No assumptions is what you're saying.
Absolutely correct.
So before, let's say, a company or a brand goes into attribution, is there something that needs to be done first? What are the first things that one needs to take care of?